Welcome back to the Us on Everything podcast. My name is Tim Wang.
What it do? It's the Uncle Gandhi.
So you all know what it is. You know why we're here. It's OU Hate Week. Uh, Texas plays OU on Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time in the Cotton Bowl. This is one of the most prized possession prize. This is one of the most uh, uh, collegiate. I don't even know how to put it into words. It has the most. It's one of the most historic rivalries in college football, in sports in general. This goes back well over 100 years now, and we're looking to hopefully this year take the golden hat home. It's been a couple years since we've actually had it. Since when Gandhi, like 2018,
2020.
2020, was it 20?
Remember Cameron Dicker won it in 2020.
Okay, so Cameron Dicker. So
So it's only been a year. Honestly, should have won back to back years, right? We should have won last year.
we definitely should have won last year. So
Uh,
yeah, this is a
yeah.
big game. I think this is a season-ending game. Texas has lost two games once, honestly, and I definitely believe I definitely believe Gandhi believes that Texas should be undefeated. Unfortunately, we had a key injury in the Alabama game where Quinn Ewers got hurt. I think he got dropped on his shoulder as he was lifted off the ground, but they did not call that. Or they called it, but they didn't penalize the player. He was not ejected out of the game in the second quarter, thus leaving Texas, who did eventually, they did put up a really, really big fight. And they played very, very well. However, the following week, unfortunately, they laid a dud. They were able to rebound last week. We played against West Virginia. West Virginia was a tough opponent for, I would say, maybe a quarter. And then from that point on, I think Texas realized, I think everybody understands how important it is that they cannot, from a recruiting standpoint, afford to lose games. From a, if you want to get to the Big 12 championship, you can't lose games, especially you can't lose multiple um, games in the Big 12 because there are some surprising teams here. And we'll get to those guys in a second. But it is crucial and very important. How this game is very important because basically, if you lose this game, you basically lost a shot to be in the Big 12 championship. Um, if you win this game, you basically keep yourself alive. It does not guarantee you a seat or a spot to be in a national, not in a national championship. I wish a Big 12 championship. It does not guarantee that you will be in a Big 12 championship. However, it just gives you a little bit more cushion as we do have how many undefeated teams? Two undefeated teams in the Big 12
Yeah,
with
TCU and
Oklahoma State.
Kansas. Three.
Yeah,
TCU, Kansas, Oklahoma State.
right. So it is very important. You don't want to fall behind in, especially as early as it is. I know, you know, some people would say we're halfway through the season, but it is still very early in the season. There's still teams trying to figure themselves out. And we'll get to Oklahoma and talk about their woes and what they're experiencing right now. It definitely feels like a team that doesn't necessarily know what to do as far as like offensive and like defensive. From a defensive standpoint, there's some things that I want to bring to Gandhi's attention. I don't think he may have caught on, but definitely some things that I definitely want to bring to his attention. But enough of me rambling. Again, this is basically it. If you lose this game, your season is pretty much done. You don't have an opportunity to participate in the Big 12 championship. I don't see Oklahoma State losing two games, and again they may, but generally speaking, I just don't see it with the way they have their schedule remaining. They do have a really hard schedule. All of these teams have a really hard schedule. However, I just don't see a lot of these teams losing two games within the next 7 weeks. So If anybody is to lose two games, I would go and say it could be possibly TCU. TCU does play Kansas this week as well. That is a very important game. College game day will also be in Kansas as well. So that is a big deal. And this is the first time being in Kansas as well. So Gandhi, I'm gonna let you take over. I just kind of want to hear what you had to say or what what over this last 6 weeks, right? What are your thoughts and opinions on the team thus far? Because I have mine, but I definitely want to hear what yours are. I think we bounce them off each other throughout the week, but I definitely try to hold it, for times like this. So go ahead, you got the floor, my man.
Yeah. First things first, I don't think any team in the Big 12 is escaping without two losses, at least.
Okay.
I just think the Big 12 is too good. And I
Okay.
do think the Big 12 is legitimate, especially if Kansas beats TCU this week,
Mm-hmm.
every team in this conference is losing at least two games.
Okay.
I say that because this is probably the most competitive the Big 12 has been top to bottom.
Yeah.
You could arguably say ever, right? Because outside of West Virginia
I would say
and
at least since 2008, 2000,
yeah, yeah,
2008.
that 2008 year was when Kansas, the last time Kansas was semi decent.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State, Texas is obviously it's the
Right.
Michael Crabtree year, right? So
Right. We still had Missouri at the time. Colorado
yeah,
was making
Missouri, Colorado, yeah. So I mean, we
Nebraska.
had all that,
Nebraska almost knocked us out of the national championship.
right?
We wanted the Big 12 championship.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So this is probably top to bottom the deepest the Big 12 has been, right? And
Right.
it's actually shocking to a lot of folks, including ourselves, if you really
Right.
think. Um, I look at the Big 12 standings today, and you look at Kansas is at the top at 2-0, 5-0. You know, Kansas State is 2-0, 4-1 overall. TCU, Oklahoma State 1-0. Those are your only undefeated teams
Mm-hmm.
in the conference,
Yep.
and all four of them play each other this week.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So everybody but two teams after this week will have at least one loss. I believe. Obviously, Kansas plays TCU. I think Oklahoma State plays Kansas State this weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Right. Um, and if that's not the case, then we'll probably go another week. But this this uh this is a must-win game for Texas for many reasons. Number
Right.
one, OU actually does suck. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you have. To, I feel like this is more of a signature win for Sark than any other time, any other victory
Mm-hmm.
or defeat that he can ever have. And the reason why is because you can head into this right,
Mm-hmm.
basically having the opportunity to bury Oklahoma,
Yes. 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 Yes.
right?
Yes. 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 Yes.
And having the opportunity to bury, not just put Oklahoma, because Oklahoma, if Oklahoma wins this game, right,
Mm-hmm.
they keep themselves in the Big 12 outlook. If
Right.
you think, because
Even
like I
though we
said,
lost two games already.
I think yeah, because like I said, I think by the time it's all said and done, every team loses two games in this conference. I don't think there's not going to be an undefeated team after it's all said and done,
So
right?
even with your pick, you remember we talked about Oklahoma State winning the possibly getting to the college playoff for your pick.
Yeah.
Or, I picked Baylor. Obviously, I was wrong. There's a lot of things going on with Baylor. They're missing just a lot of pieces. They lost a lot of people to the league,
Yep.
to the transfer portal,
Yep.
injuries, and so on. Um, so you've been ride or die Oklahoma State. Every week you were like, Sam, dog, look, are you paying attention? Are you looking at Oklahoma State? Do you see what they're doing? Do you see what they're doing? And I see what they're doing, and they look, I would say they probably outside of like Kansas, and we'll get to Kansas later, but outside of Kansas, they look like one of the most complete teams in the country.
Yes.
They play offense, they play defense. Spencer Sanders is his name.
Finally looks like the
He
quarterback that everybody thought he was going to be.
he looks, you know who he
It looks
reminds me?
incredible.
I don't know if you remember this. This might be dating me as far as being older, but do you remember Seneca Wallace
Yes.
at Iowa State? He
Yep.
reminds me of Seneca Wallace. And Seneca Wallace kind of reminds me a little bit, like I feel like Seneca Wallace was like 5 or 6 years ahead
It
of
was time.
yeah, of ahead of his time. Kind of reminds me of a Russell Wilson. He can throw from all different angles. He can get the ball out. He's a little stocky. He's got a like he's really solid. He's lower extremities. He's got big legs, big thighs. That's very important because you know he can move around. He can shed tacklers and things like that. So when
Yeah.
you're playing against somebody like that, you can't just go in there and BS and try to just roll them up and think you're going to be able to get them on the ground. It doesn't. It's not going to work that way. That man's got huge legs. You're going to have to really take him down. Uh,
Right.
so um, they look like the most complete team in the Big 12 and in the country. Honestly, there
Yep.
are some teams out there that I've seen that look really, really good. I mean, come on, we all know Georgia looks really, really good. Um,
Do they?
I mean, they look outside of the one game where they struggled against what was it, Middle Tennessee?
Bro, they just had to wait. They had to go to the very end against Missouri, the worst team in the conference,
Really?
just
Okay.
now.
Well, okay.
And they struggled against Kent State. Kent State scored them. You know,
Kent
Kent
State.
State
Kent
has
State.
scored more points against Georgia than any other team they've faced in the last 2 years. I think it scored like 23 or 24. I think Georgia only ended up winning that game by like 2 touchdowns.
I think they won it by less than that. They may have won it less than that, but hey, facts don't matter here right now. But anyway, I think Georgia look like from top to bottom, Georgia looks fairly decent outside of the two hiccups that they've had. Um, but Oklahoma State, I really haven't seen anything where I'm just like, oh, this don't look good.
To me, to
They
me,
look
the
really, really
to
good.
me the best team in the nation so far has from top to bottom has been Ohio State. I think Ohio State
Ohio
looks
State struggled.
the best. The most consistent team from top to bottom to me has been Ohio State, and that's with their best receiver being out. Right,
Right.
he missed a game. Nick Williams, whatever the hell his name is. Uh, Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr. has been great for them.
Fantastic.
They just have receivers out the wazoo, and like I said, I think that has been the most consistent team. You can argue, well, they've had 5 games at home for you. Look, they don't make the schedule, right? They should play the schedule that's on there that's given to them. They don't make the schedule,
Yeah.
but they've blown out. I don't think they've had a close game yet. They've blown out every besides Notre Dame, right? That's like their signature win, which is turning out to not be a signature win because Notre
Right.
Dame sucks ass from a straw. But
Yeah.
um, beyond that, they have dominated every team that they've played, and they looked good doing it.
Yeah, they do
CJ
look good.
Stroud,
Yeah.
CJ Stroud has made some really impressive NFL level throws.
Right.
Um, I think Ohio State's the best team in the country right now.
Now, I would say their strong point as far as Ohio State is concerned, I would say their strong point is their offense. Their defense is a little bit on the don't necessarily know. They don't have that force at the end like they normally do, like a Chase Young or a Bosa or the
Right.
Bosa brothers or anything like that, or that stout cornerback that they normally have. So I would say their strongest focal point, honestly, is going to be the offense, and it's clear. We just rattled off 3 receivers. I can't tell you a lot of receivers in the Big 12 outside of the University of Texas. And that's not even being Homer. It's because honestly, they're constantly in the news as far as uh, from a from a from a from a team standpoint, that team is always in the news. One, we'll get to Quinn. We'll talk about Quinn and Hudson here in a second. But outside of that, like I don't really know any other guys. So that tells you that those guys are fantastic as far as a
Yeah.
receiver set. As far as the receiver, that is the best group of receivers in the country. Like
Easy. Yeah,
easily.
easily.
They're
Yeah.
smoking Alabama.
I
They're
don't even think I don't think it's close.
I don't think it's close at all.
Yeah.
Um, But speaking of Quinn, we did talk about how Quinn was injured and he got injured in the Alabama game, which you definitely both feel, and a lot of people feel strongly um, that Alabama should have lost that game. There was a couple of fumbling. There's a couple of things that happened, and the referees kind of fumbled some catches and some things that should have not been. Whatever. If you haven't seen that game, you can go back and honestly, you can look it up on YouTube. They have the entire game there. It's been classified as one of the games of the year, if not the game of the year thus far. And we've been 6 weeks in, and we've seen some crazy games so far.
Yeah,
And it's still right up there at the top. Anytime you have a Goliath story where you got David, which is coming in as Texas, which is not really a David, but compared to Alabama in their their so what somewhat people would call dynasty, right? They've had this dynasty, even though they've lost a couple within the last 15 years. They've only lost what, three or four within the last 15 years. They've won everything else within the last 15 years. So you get Texas trying to be back on the upswing. Texas is number one in just about every other sport outside of football. Basketball, they do decent. Women's basketball, they excel in. Volleyball is like Alabama. They win just about everything. They sell out every weekend that they play, every weekday that they play. Baseball is always in the mix with the Vanderbilts and the UCLAs and the other powerhouses throughout college baseball. And the only one thing that hasn't really gotten back on track is the football team. If you think about this, we are a football state. We are the University of Texas. Then football is king in the state of Texas.
yep,
So when you go up against Alabama, where they've had this I wouldn't even say recent, they've had this streak of dominance, and you keep it close, expectations begin to rise. I believe I spoke the last time we recorded. God forbid that was a total train wreck. That that video was so messed up and out of whack. I don't necessarily know what happened to it, but we did speak on um how I felt like Quinn and Sark's game plan is going to be something that we'd never seen before. And until that point, it was. We had never seen Alabama on its heels. And I remember specifically in that video and that podcast that we did, I said, hey, they might have this defensive line is their strongest point. However, I think if we can get the ball out and we can get it to our receivers, it's clearly that the weakest point is the secondary. They've had the entire secondary. If you think about their entire secondary has been wiped every year except maybe one. And now
yeah,
was the 1 year where they played against Georgia the first time. And that first time they had Tua come in, Jalen Hurts, they take him out because clearly they're on the cusp of losing the national championship. Tua goes over the top, hits him over the head. They win the national championship against Georgia on a wild play, and Devonta Smith, and they win the national championship. That core, each one of those secondary players from that point on had either gotten drafted, they either transferred, or most of them just got drafted. Let's just be completely honest. Other than that, I think there's been one that transferred. Um,
yeah,
so you know, and that's what Texas did. They attacked them. They went deep. They got a lot of calls. Anytime they had 35 calls, 35 penalties on them and won by a point, which is crazy because I had never seen anything like that. Um, God rest God rest the dead. If I were to call Coach Mack and say, "Hey, Alabama had 35 penalties," he would shit his pants, and he'd
yeah.
be like, "How did they pull this off?" And I'd be like, "Hey, there's a couple of blown calls." He'd be like, "That's bullshit. They shouldn't have never won." So with again, me going back and reiterating what I was saying earlier, with the loss at one point. things start to happen, even with Hudson Carr being the current starter. So what to me, I guess the question for you is what do you feel like what okay, based on what you saw versus the expectations, how do you feel like this game will go versus the rest of the season?
Um,
Because like you said, Oklahoma
yeah,
is
it
down.
depends, right? I mean, as good as Texas has looked at times, they still struggle in the second half, right? It's a team that averages 6 points in the fourth quarter specifically. You know, again, I mean, last week is kind of an anomaly because the game was over, but we only scored like 3 points in the fourth quarter. Against Tech, I think we only had the two field goals.
Mhm.
Um, so it depends. This is one of the again, you have an opportunity to bury Oklahoma, and I think it's we all know how unique. I don't care what anybody says. It's probably not the best rivalry in college football, but it certainly is the most unique rivalry in college football. Because
Yes.
once you cross that 50-yard line, it's a different game, right?
Right.
You're on a different you are it is a different home game
Right.
once you cross that 50-yard line, right?
Right.
And there's not another game that is like that.
Right.
You're playing half the time on your side of the field, half your time on your opponent's side of the field, really, and literally, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think from that aspect, how Sark gets this team ready for that change once you hit the 50, because even in a big play,
Right.
uh, you know, once you cross the 50, it's silence.
Right.
So it's really unique in that fashion. Um, I think really the key to the game is um, Bijan and Roshan in my mind. I think
Okay.
they should be running the game between the two of them,
Right.
running the ball 30 to 40 times. And I say that because as good as I think Quinn is, this is just his first game back. So I don't think you put him in a spot. If Quinn goes like 17 for 20 or 11 for 15, 100 yards, a couple touchdowns, I'll be really happy.
Right.
Um, I don't expect Sark to put Quinn in a position, especially this week and next week. I think you need to save Quinn for the Kansas State game 2 weeks from now in Manhattan.
Mhm.
Now the Kansas game. I'm not even worried about Baylor anymore, honestly. I think Kansas State, Oklahoma. That is the 3 game stretch that is the season.
Right.
And I think you have to come out of there 2-1 at least in order to give yourself a shot.
Right.
So, with that being said, Oklahoma's secondary is so awful that if you run the ball effectively enough, Quinn might just be able to play pitch and catch with his receivers all day.
Right.
That Oklahoma secondary is god awful.
Right.
It's probably one of the worst secondaries I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
Um, the TCU quarterback, I forget, Alex Duggan, is actually not that very good of a passer,
Mhm.
but everybody's a great passer when homeboy's 30 yards down the field and wide open, right?
Right. Right.
It's
Right.
basically like playing, it's practicing at that point. So I think running the ball is going to be imperative. I don't want to. I want to. I want to see us line it up, I formation, and shove it down their throat because I don't think they could stop it. I think Bijan Robinson should have 200 yards this game.
Yeah.
This
Um,
should be like an epic Bijan Robinson game in my mind. One
yes.
for the ages, like a 200, 250. Like, I really do think he could get that much. I
Right.
do think this Oklahoma secondary or defense in general is that bad.
Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. There was one thing that you said that I noticed that does not happen as often as it should. I think in order to protect Hudson Card and Quinn, they need to um go back to basics. I've always said this, I've said this since we started. Is that if these things are not working, if these formations are not working, these different packages are not necessarily working, there are things that you can do. And we all know what an off tackle is. You know what an A. You know what gaps are. You know your gaps. Your 2 4 6s 8s. your 3.59 sevens. I'm sorry, 3.5 7 9s. We all know that. Um, those are easy running plays that you can do. You can run the power I formation, get somebody heavy back there with a little bit of weight in his butt, and shove it down their throat.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that I noticed against Texas Tech that they did not do. And I pointed it out to you that they did it, but they did it at the wrong time, and it was it was just something. It was a clip that you sent to me, and it was Bijan, and he was dancing in the end zone, but there was a gaping
Yeah.
hole just
There's a
behind
gaping
him.
hole. Yeah.
This needs to be one of those situations, and I don't necessarily know the gentleman's name from Alabama. That kid that transferred from Alabama, he wears the number 7.
Ryan Watts. My guy.
That kid, okay, so
Love that guy.
that kid right there, he can have a big game
Oh yeah.
because basically what I do like about him, I'm not discrediting what Bijan is. Bijan is one of the best backs in the league, in college football, and you can see it, and he's displayed it this year. But there are just some things that I don't like that Sark does. I don't like. We don't need to run the ball however many times we're going to run the ball. You need to get up under the center every now and then and just lean on. Texas Tech was outweighed 30 pounds to Texas offensive lineman outweighed each defensive lineman's Texas Tech's defensive lineman by 30 pounds. This is even more weight than they did last year.
Right.
Sometimes just going back to the basics, going back I formations, up the gut, running just a power up the gut. It could be a stretch to the right, it could be a stretch to the left. But getting to the point to where you can lean on these guys, because to me, Bijan doesn't need to be standing still and then you hand the ball off to him and then he runs. Give him an opportunity to get to the line, figure a hole, and then hit it and go. This dancing behind the center, then scraping over to the right to eventually find a hole or making somebody miss and then hitting the hole. You can avoid all of that. And again, there's nothing wrong with Sark's play calling. Sark has some of the best play calling I have ever seen. Offensively, this man can prepare for literally anybody. We've
Yeah.
seen it happen. It just, again, based off going what off you said, like it just for some reason it's like he lets off of the gas at the end of the week or at the next half. He just lets off that end of the gas, and you can't. This is the week where you cannot do that. You have to literally run you have to open the playbook up, especially if you have Quinn and Ewers there. You have to open the playbook up. Max Duggan and the kid Martinez, they are the two lowest, okay? They are the two lowest passers in the Big 12. We're talking about
That's
9
interesting.
and 10.
Oh really? See,
Yes.
I didn't know. So the guy, I mean Matt, we know what Max Duggan is. He's not a great passer.
No.
Um,
He struggled against Tulane.
yeah, the top passers in the Big 12, uniquely enough, are Donovan Smith, and I think his numbers are inflated because of Texas. I think we let him look like John Elway. Um, Hunter Deckers from Iowa State, but Iowa State sucks ass from a straw. Their offense does, not their defense.
Their defense
Actually,
is, their defense is good.
right, they're really good, probably the best in the conference, right?
Yeah, because they
If
don't
you
lose big.
actually, if you look from a passer rating perspective, the top two passers in the Big 12 are Max Duggan and Jalen Daniels.
Well, that's
But
actually that's
but Max Duggan just had like probably the best,
his
uh
yeah, his
yeah,
best
his
game
best game
on the date.
ever, right?
Yeah,
And he hasn't thrown a pick all year.
yeah.
Max Duggan has 11 touchdowns, no picks. Jalen Daniels has 11 touchdowns, one pick. There's actually, outside of Iowa State and Tech, every quarterback in the Big 12 has no more than two interceptions on the year.
That's really good.
That's insane, right?
Really good.
Spencer Sanders 11-2, Dylan Gabriel 11-0, Max Duggan 11-0. Hell, Hudson Card is 6-1.
Yeah.
And I and
And
even
that
even
that
Quinn
that
is 3-1, right? Or
yeah.
4-1, 5-1 actually.
Yeah, yeah.
So you defense, you're gonna get your yards, right? You're gonna get your yards, you're gonna get your opportunities. Um, I'm really interested, and I think the other thing is, I don't give a hell. I don't give a shit what Brent Venables says. He has no idea what to prepare for.
No, he doesn't.
He has not a
He has
clue,
no
right?
clue.
Because what is he? Even if he were to let's just say hypothetically, right? Brent Venables is a defensive guy. Let's be honest. Brent Venables is not a bad defensive guy.
He's
This
a
is
fantastic
just
coordinator.
this
He's
is
a fantastic
just
coordinator.
not this is not the ACC, right?
No.
This is not the Big 12. I think it's going to take Brent Venables a couple years to figure this out, and I think Oklahoma's defense is going to continue to be bad this year, or worse than what Oklahoma fans are expecting, just because Brent Venables is seeing things that he's never seen before. He has never been in a powerhouse conference with the powerhouse offenses that exist in this league.
Yeah, and
Um,
literally every school though.
every
So
single
I
school
mean,
exists this way.
as
So
bad as Texas Tech is, they're known for having some type of quarterback flinging the ball
yeah,
where they get a lot of passing yards off. They're known for the air raid. They've always ran it, from what I believe. Um, and then you have your Kansases and your Kansas States. Kansas has always been a tough place to play. As far as Kansas State is concerned, going to Manhattan, Kansas,
yeah,
playing there. They travel well. They always get these top of the line JUCO teams or JUCO transfers. They always get them. I don't know how they pull it off, but they get them. They'll get a top linebacker, a top quarterback, defensive linemen, whatever the case, safeties, and so on. And they are not easy. They've never really just been super easy. So for Britt, this is a wake up call because you did come from um Clemson, where you were there for 10 years and you got the pick of the best. Right.
right,
And let's be completely honest, all he had to focus on was defense. He didn't have to
right,
focus on, making sure you had your quarterback, making sure you had your play calls were good,
yeah,
making sure that you're recruiting, making sure you're doing this, making sure you're doing that. That was more on Dabo. And
yeah,
so all he had to worry about was his defense, talking to his recruiters to make sure that they go and target the correct defensive players. They started winning national championships. Now you don't have to recruit as hard because people are want to come there
right,
because you're winning and they see how you are winning. You're putting defensive linemen and defensive backs in the league, and they're going in first rounds and stuff like that. So there you go. You literally uh your main, I would say your main uh competition was Florida State, but they were only relevant what the 2014, 2013, 2014 season. Outside of that, that's when they won the national championship. Outside of that, I mean, NC State had one good year, uh,
yeah,
but you
yeah,
beat them and they got you back. They got you back last year, but you still ended up doing well. You only lost 2 games last year. You over the last 10 years, you've lost a total of
six
maybe
games.
6 or 8 games.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you're
yeah.
doing well.
You had the yeah, the generational talent in Trevor Lawrence for 4 years,
That
right?
playing field has leveled itself.
Yeah.
Uh,
The one thing, and you know what's funny? I was listening to Jeff Ketchum. Shout out to the Orange Bloods
oh yeah,
podcast.
for
Those are
sure.
my boys. Love those guys. And he had his Orange Bloods After Dark show last night, and he was talking about Brent. He was comparing Brent Venables to Tom Herman, and he was doing that
Oh,
in a sense of Brent Venables only had to focus on defense, right? Now that the defense is struggling, or now that he's the head coach, his job is to focus on the team as a whole.
mhm.
But now that the defense is struggling, he has to go back and also focus on the defense. Oh, by the way, some guy named Booty Asshole or something is his quarterback maybe this week, or
General
maybe
Booth.
Yeah, General Butthole or whatever the hell his name is. Oh, by the
General-
way, also you don't have it. Oh, by the so it takes your focus away from the team because now you have to go back to your specialty. And he talked about how Tom Herman did the same thing at Texas,
Right.
and he thinks that's why Tom Herman struggled as a head coach at Texas. The offense was not performing, so therefore he had to take his focus off of not just being the head coach, but now he's the play caller because he couldn't find an offensive coordinator that could do that. Now
Right.
he has to focus in on making sure the offense is executing from week to week. Oh, by the way, now he has to focus. He had to focus on this injury and that injury in the offense. Oh, now so it
Right.
compiles, right? So I don't, and I told you this when the season started. I think Oklahoma's losing 5 games, and I still think that.
Yeah, a lot of people have
Um,
tried to mention that.
and this is the reason why I didn't even believe in Dylan Gabriel. Forget that.
Yeah,
And
no, I
prayers
didn't
to
believe
him.
it.
Prayers to him. Like I hope he does well.
Yeah,
But
that was rough how he got hit, dude.
there's no way that guy's playing this week. I don't care if he puts on shoulder pads. I don't care if he puts on a non-contact. I don't care if he puts on a non-contact jersey. I don't care if they wrap him in bubble wrap. Dylan Gabriel is not playing this week. And if he plays
Dylan Gabriel should not play in this game.
at all, and if he does,
The
then
way that
Oklahoma needs to be investigated because
the way that he got
there's no
hit,
way. Yeah.
dude, that was so bad.
Yeah.
That was so bad.
I was talking, we were talking about the Tua situation on the AFC South Fan Battle podcast this week. And we were saying that, if you suffer a concussion, there needs to be a 3 game minimum now where
Really?
you, you should not even, your concussion protocol shouldn't begin until 3 games from when you suffer, especially if you get carted off the damn field and
Yeah.
head to the hospital, right?
No, yeah. Which is what happened.
In both situations.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so there should be a 3 game minimum, and then you go into concussion protocol, and that's when you can test. And there's players that have come out to say, I just read an article on Twitter where Joe Burrow was talking about, oh yeah, I've suffered concussions, and I just went and I didn't tell anybody, and I've gone right out. There was somebody that was saying something like, oh yeah, they just give you the answers to the concussion protocol test, so it's like cheating on a fucking quiz or something at this point. So people make a mockery of the concussion protocol, and I think the only way to make this thing real is minimum 3 games. You don't get to play, don't get to practice, no football activity. My cousin suffered a concussion, obviously much younger, much different sport, but he suffered a concussion in soccer. He had to sit in at home basically. He was basically on bed rest for a month before he even had the opportunity. No lights, none of that stuff. Before he even had the opportunity to uh, test out of concussion protocol. Like I think that needs to be the standard. If we as a sport or if football as a sport is serious about keeping this game, then these are the types of things that need to happen. Right,
Right.
and it's a completely different thing. But back to the game. I don't think Dylan Gabriel's gonna play. I don't think Brent Venables is so scared of being at Oklahoma that he's willing to risk his job like that. So
Hmm.
I don't think Dylan Gabriel plays. With that being said, I think this defense has the biggest challenge out of everybody because I think they have the biggest statement to make on this team. If this, we've seen this defense play lights out.
Yes.
We've also seen this defense look lost.
I would say the only games that they really looked lost was the Texas Tech game. Again, that was a game that they lost,
Right,
and they
right,
should not have lost that game.
absolutely bad loss. Right.
And anytime
I've
you run 100 plays on offense, you should not. One, the offense looked stale. That was one thing. So against Tech, that offense looked really, really stale. It looked like a Tom Herman offense. And then two, if you can't move the ball, on offense, you put your defense at risk. You put them back out there, you run the risk of having more big plays. And it wasn't even big plays. It was just they wouldn't get off the field on third and fourth down.
yeah,
They went for the Texas Tech went for fourth down 8 times. They got it six.
so 6 or 7, right? They were like 6 for 8 or 7 for 8. Um, yeah,
And
very very
on the
interesting.
half of that was in their own yard, right? So that's
Yep,
before they even cross the 50 to get into Texas territory.
Right. And Tech
So
wasn't doing anything complicated, right?
no,
They're
nothing
doing
crazy.
options, sneak plays, QB runs, a little hitch pass here, a little drag pass there. They weren't doing anything complicated. Dive
No,
plays straight down the middle. Like they really weren't doing anything crazy. So I mean, and again, throw that off as an anomaly. A lot of these guys have never played in Lubbock before, and
no.
that's Tom Herman. I mean, not Tom Herman. Steve Sarkisian has never been in Lubbock, and the best part about Lubbock this time around is it's probably the last time he'll ever have to go there. So
Yeah,
never have to worry about it again. Call it I will willing to call it an anomaly game. It's this entire coaching staff's first time in Lubbock. Lubbock is it's different playing in Lubbock. It's just different.
right.
Every team in the Big
For
12 knows
God's
it.
sakes, they throw tortillas on the
Yeah,
field.
it's just different. People are weird up there. They're bored. They don't have shit to do. So that's literally all they do between August and January, right? That's it. So if I look at this and I don't think I could be really wrong about. I don't think Steve Sarkisian's ever won back to back games in the Big 12.
I don't think he's won back-to-back games either. And to be completely honest, if you think about it, he's only won one game on the road
Ever.
ever.
And his overall record as the Texas head coach is still one game under 500. Steve Sarkisian is playing this game. It means a lot to Steve Sarkisian, and I actually think Steve Sarkisian is a fantastic coach. I think
Yeah,
his the difference between this year and last year is already night and day, and you can see it in the way this team plays. This
yeah,
team's going to be ready for 4 quarters this week, and I really believe it.
yeah.
It this game has kind of turned into a trap game for Texas
Right.
because of how bad Oklahoma is. Oklahoma's given up 96 points in 2 weeks. Oklahoma,
Has had
the
a slew of
secondary,
injuries.
yeah, the slew of injuries that they've had. Their secondary looks like they walk around all over the place and play with blindfolds on. There's a lot of things going on there. And again, like I said when we started the show, Steve Sarkisian is basically you got blood in the water, right? You have an opportunity to put Oklahoma, your biggest rival, stamp it. This is a statement game for Tom Herman. You can bury Oklahoma. I think this is a bigger statement game than Alabama because of where we are currently in the season. You
Yeah.
have an opportunity to
Yeah.
make your stamp on this rivalry. And I think if Steve Sarkisian does what I think Steve Sarkisian can do, and this team plays for 4 quarters, I don't think this game is close. I honestly, and we'll probably give our predictions later. I don't think this game is going to be close at all,
Yeah.
especially with no Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah. Yeah. This is to me. This is a bigger game. For this game is more geared towards the longevity of the season, right?
Yeah,
This is to me where you again just exactly how you beautifully described the situation. You there's blood in the water.
yeah.
Okay, you got injuries. You got quarterbacks that are out. You got a defense that doesn't necessarily know what they're doing. They were running a 3-3-5. I've never seen Oklahoma run a 3-3-5 ever in my life. Um,
They usually run 4 down line. Or actually, they're a big 3-4 team, right?
no,
Oh no, they're a big 4-3 team.
they usually run a base offense. They run a 4-3 scheme. They'll transition every now and then because they usually have the athletes to do it. Not
Yep.
saying that they don't have the athletes to do it. A lot of these guys that are going to be starting are going to be ranked dead last as far as their position is going to be concerned. So you have Xavier Worthy, you have Jordan Whittington, you have Jatavian Sanders, you have you have who's that other guy? The big guy. Uh Brandon Thompson. You have a slew of wide receivers that can take the top off of any defense. All these guys can get deep. All these guys are quick. All these guys are the best at their ability. Jordan Whittington, let me say something about Jordan Whittington. The
Yeah,
last 2 weeks, Jordan Whittington, don't get me wrong, I love Xavier Worthy, has looked like the best receiver on the team.
I agree.
It
Well, except for last week. Last week, Xavier Worthy looked like the best receiver on the football
I
field.
said as outside of those two catches that Xavier had uh Xavier had that one wild play over the
Yeah,
top. Um, it, to me, Jordan Whittington looked like the best receiver on the team, even with Xavier Worthy having that game that he did, and he did really, really well. Um, he looked like the most explosive player in college football. Jordan Whittington, to me, he got the third down. Hudson
yeah,
Card was on a move. Jordan Whittington was on a move.
yeah.
He literally caught everything. He was a lot. He allowed. I felt like he was a safety blanket for Hudson.
Yes, yeah, I would agree there.
Now we know what Quinn does, and Quinn the and I've always talked about Hudson and Xavier how they don't necessarily. This is the first time we've ever seen them like link up
Yeah,
again. But we know what Quinn and Xavier does. We know
yep,
what Quinn and
yep,
Jatavian. We know how Quinn is his best his best target or his biggest target is going to be Jatavian Sanders. And I think that Jatavian Sanders will have a better. I think Xavier Worthy will get the shine because it's Xavier Worthy. He's the big star on the outside of Bijan, Roshan, and Quinn himself. But Jatavian Sanders, and I've been talking about Jatavian Sanders for 2 years. Jatavian Sanders, this I feel like will be his game because he will be Quinn's best friend. If Quinn gets rushed for
yeah,
any reason, he's going to Jatavian Sanders. Unless Xavier Worthy, which you brought in eloquently stated, those TCU receivers were wide open.
yeah,
Unless Xavier Worthy or Jordan Wington or Brennan Thompson, unless those guys are wide open, Jatavian Sanders is going to be the guy to me. Um,
yeah. I agree. And that little tight end screen that we saw against
oh my god,
Alabama, I
it's
think you could run that all day.
it's
I
they
think you
ran
could
it
run
last
that
week.
all day.
They
Yeah,
ran it last week, and Jatavian got like 20 yards off of it.
yeah, yeah. But they ran it once, and I was trying to figure out where that had been all the against Tech, especially with all those with the amount of time pressure they were able to for some reason get on Hudson and Tech, and we never saw that. We didn't really see that play.
Right.
So yeah, and again, I think Quinn starts this week. It's you listen to a coach and you kind of put some things together based on what he says, right? And they tell you not to read too much into what coaches say because a lot of it is coach speak. But when you say things like, the goal is to play our best players. If our best players are available, we will be playing them. I think there was a quote that he specifically said. Something along the lines of we want we think Hudson's done a great job, but my job is to make sure the best players on the field are on the field. And that to me, that's basically saying Quinn's going to play.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, 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 yeah.
I mean, he said I don't know if that was exactly what he said. It was pretty close to something like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think Quinn's going to start.
Yeah,
Um, I don't let that trick you into thinking. Um, don't trick that into thinking that we're going to throw the ball 30 times because I don't think we are. I think we throw the ball more like 15 to 20 times. One player I do want you guys to keep an eye on this week is the Ajayi Hall. I think
right.
he's finally going to get his
Yeah,
opportunity. He's been back for a few weeks. Sark talks a lot about how he's been a great
yeah. He
leader
really
since
has.
he's been
He's given
back.
them a lot of praise
Lots of praise.
in the press
Um,
conferences. Every press
and
conference
again,
that I've heard, he's always talked about Ajayi Hall.
and you talk about how things open up in this game. The one player we haven't seen too much of is Ajayi Hall.
Yeah,
And and
he's a
and
burner.
Ajayi Hall is a guy that this is the perfect game to unleash something like that.
Yeah,
So I think we might see some RPO action this week, and I think Ajayi Hall
yeah.
will play.
6'3",
Yeah,
208, 212 pounds. Guy
yep.
can fly out of Florida, transfer
Lots
from
of
Alabama.
speed. You
Lots of
get him out
speed.
there, yeah. He's 6'3", 195. But if you talk about guys who have speed and space, Ajayi Hall is that guy.
Yeah.
And those little RPO plays that people throw out there, RPO slants, little bubble screens off of RPOs. That is an Ajayi Hall type thing, and I think we see a lot of that because I do expect Oklahoma to crash in a lot and try to stop the run. So you're
Which
going to see they're going to stack the box. Doesn't
yeah,
matter who the running back is. They're going to stack the box.
they are going to stack the box, and they're usually pretty. They're okay. They've been okay this year in regards to stopping the run, for the first half. Now the
Yeah, I was
second
going to.
half,
Yeah,
they have not
uh,
been great. Now that's where Oklahoma's strength is on the offensive side. They've been getting off 3-4 yards a clip
yeah,
per rush on the offensive side of the ball. So they can definitely do things with running the ball. That's where I think to me, I think Texas's strong point is passing. I think their weak point is running up the middle. Again, I definitely think it's because of the type of calls and the formations and how things are set and ran, with
yeah.
Clark and how he has his offense running. They don't really get up under the center like I would like them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's neither here nor there. Oklahoma's strength right now, I would say, without having Dylan Gabriel, and even with having Dylan Gabriel, is running the ball. So we will see how they end up, how that will that game play, what they plan on doing. So in coming to conclusion, though, I would like to hear what your key points are and what you think the total of the game is going to be.
Key points are shoving the ball down their throat. That is the key point. That's the
Okay.
key point. Shove the goddamn ball down their throat. Defensively, it's play through the emotions of the game. Uh, and stick together. I think playing team defense, that the team defense that we have seen against Alabama and last week against West Virginia is key.
Right.
You've got to play defense for 40 minutes. You can or what you play 60 minutes in college,
Yeah.
or 60 minutes. You got to play 4 quarters of football.
Right.
Um, Defensively in this game. And because momentum swings will happen, we see
Mm-hmm.
it all the time, every single year in this game.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. You throw out how good or how bad teams are. Again,
Yeah.
the atmosphere of this game dictates and increases momentum swings. Right. That's just the nature of the reality.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that being said, I think Sark's been in this game before, and I think he's one of those coaches that adjusts well. Once one thing happens poorly, he's not going to do it again poorly.
Mhm.
We saw that about against Alabama. They played poorly against an SEC team last year, and they were very well prepared this year.
Right.
Um, and I think you see that he's been to the Red River rivalry. He's been to the Cotton Bowl. He's done the thing. He's crossed the 50. He's done all that stuff. It's all done.
Right.
Right. So I think he's going to have this team prepared. I think Texas wins like 45-14. Like, I think this is going to be a blowout.
Okay.
I don't think this game is ever going to be close. I think this defense does stick together for 4 quarters. If you're a better this week, the spread is -7. I'd hammer the over. I think yeah, the over is going to be insane. So I'll take Texas 45, Oklahoma 14, especially with no Dylan Gabriel.
Okay. All right. Well, I kind of want to kind of piggyback off of that. What you were saying. Yeah, I definitely think that if Texas has an opportunity to lean on Oklahoma as far as running the ball, they most definitely can. However, we know that secondary is absolute dog shit. So this is where you, as a coach, I think as a state, like as a team, this is a statement game, to let the Big 12 know, like, hey, we did lose 2 games. We lost to the best team in America, or one of the best teams in America, and Alabama, and we shouldn't have lost to Texas Tech because we were up 17 in the third quarter, and we let them off the hook, and we ended up losing. This is that one game where if Texas is up 10, if Texas is up 12 in the third quarter and they happen to have the ball, you need to still get the ball in the end zone. You need to completely demoralize the way TCU demoralized Oklahoma. last week. Unfortunately, there were some key injuries. There were some very scary injuries. Dylan Gabriel, again, that was a dirty hit to me. He shouldn't have, gotten hit like the way he did. But that's in the past. That's last week, right? You have to move on. If Dylan Gabriel is there, you need to hit him in his fucking mouth.
Yep.
If he's there, if you got a shot at him and you can get a legal shot on him without getting ejected, you have to take it. Um, Offensive line, I don't give a shit how tired those guys get. You have to continue to lean on them. Those wide receivers, they need to be trying to get open as much as possible, and they all need to be running down the field.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Yeah. Agreed.
If containment is broken, get down the field.
Yeah.
We know Quinn can make the throws. He's got the arm. He can flick it across the field with one shot. Like literally, this is how he throws the ball. He flicks the ball out of his wrist. Let him go. Let him do it.
It's so wild. It looks so crazy the way he does
It's
it,
unorthodox. It doesn't look normal, but it works.
but it works, and
It
and
works.
it looks he makes it look so easy when he
Yeah,
does it,
he makes it
which
look
is
very,
even
very.
wild. Yeah.
Sark as a head coach cannot ease up. This
No.
is You've only won one game the entire time that you've been in at the University of Texas. You've only won one game away from home, and that
Yep.
was against Tech last year. You can't you can't you can't afford it. You got too many. You've already had a decommit. One kid open up his commit at the game last week. He just decided he wanted to go back and open up recruiting. Um, you have to get these statement wins to shore up those recruits to let them know, like, I don't want to
Right.
miss out on this.
Right.
This
Right.
could be the start of something. Um,
Yep.
so the final score. This is my final score. I have Oklahoma 28. I have Texas 45. I think
Okay.
you get some BS touchdowns at the end of the game. Um,
Okay.
I think it's relatively. I think Texas starts out really, 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 really quick. I think they
Yep.
go up 21 by the end of the half. They're up 21. Oklahoma may have 7, and then eventually, hopefully, what I'm hoping and praying is we get some type of. I would like to see a defensive touchdown, some type of touchdown on special teams. I would really love to see that. If you get that, then we're talking about 50, 60 points. If you if we're
And
talking,
that's unheard of in this game. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that is
It,
unheard of.
it's only happened a couple of times, but it has happened. But um, my final score: Oklahoma 28, Texas 45. I don't see with the injuries that Oklahoma has. They have significant injuries in the secondary, the quarterback, defensive line. They are just they've had way too many injuries, and I think them coming in here, I think they're demoralized. Of course, I think they'll get up because it's Texas. They have recruits and their own things that they need to, uh, play for. But I
Yep.
just don't think that they get it. I don't think they have enough bodies. Texas is getting healthier. Oklahoma has lost players,
Yeah.
and when you get in a situation like that, things can get real ugly very quickly. So again, my score is 45. Oklahoma 45. Texas. I'm sorry, Oklahoma 28. Texas 45.
Cool. And Texas is in the icy whites, so
Yeah.
um, yeah, yeah, it's I don't yeah, it's not gonna be close.
So, did you happen to have any parting words before we left out of here?
No, OU still sucks.
Oh, you still sucks. Give them your socials before we get out of here, man.
You can reach me at the Uncle Gandhi everywhere. It is spelled on the screen for the first time ever. UNCLEGHANDI.
Yeah, and you can find me again at Tim Wayne on Twitter. Again, that is my preferred platform. You can also find me on Instagram as well at Tim Wayne. Tim Wayne, I think it's at Tim Wayne 13 or something like that. I don't know. But if you type out Tim Wayne, there's only a couple of us. I'm in a Longhorn shirt, so you can find me easily. Um, yeah. Again, welcome to OU Hate Week, guys. I really hope that you guys have a good time. Enjoy the game. Make sure you guys please like, share, comment, and subscribe. This really helps us out. And this helps us beat the algorithm. So this is definitely something that we look forward to talking about. We've been talking about it for months. It's here. The stuff that we've been talking about in the past and the stuff that we've been talking about from the very first time that we came back from break, all of this is happening now, right? So we get to see it live. Unfortunately, I did say that we would have two losses. I didn't really think that we would. I didn't expect Quinn to be hurt, but he is, unfortunately. But he's coming back, and hopefully that we'll get um, a for sure update that he is going to be playing. But from the rumor mill and what we're hearing, um, that he's going to play. So it's an exciting time. I can't wait to get back to you guys so we can talk about the game after the fact. Hopefully, we're uh, cheering in victory. We're being spoiled in victory. So,
Yep.
other than that, you guys take care of yourselves. Uh, Winter is coming. So
Unfortunately,
I mean,
unfortunately,
our
winter.
winters are never that bad.
It was if it's below 60 degrees, I don't really care. Yeah, it was below 70 degrees. It's too cold.
Listen, winter is coming, the holidays is coming, but that just means more serious football. We got World Cup coming, we got basketball coming,
Oh.
we got all types
November's
of
gonna be
stuff.
wild. November's
November
gonna
is
be
gonna
wild.
be packed. And we're 3 weeks away from it. So
Yeah.
you guys take care. And you guys make sure you wash your hands and mind your business. Peace.
Peace.